try to put it in it's a round hole. Trying to stay in the square hole. It's not letting me get it in there.
I think your thing is what's wrong is this. No. Look at ours. This part.
Oh, so you gotta
move. I don't know. Move your mic up.
Up.
Let me move my mic up like this.
No.
No, like this.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
All right. I'll try it again.
All fucking morning, and this is what you like. What the fuck? What is up, you guys? Welcome back to the #1 mental health and addiction podcast, the Hopeaholics. I am your girl, Natalie Eva Marie, and these are my boys.
I'm Chad.
Hi, I'm Shane.
Make sure you guys like, subscribe, and follow us on our socials and wherever you get your podcasts.
Got a new episode dropping every Monday and Thursday. Please come check it out.
This episode is brought to you by the Infinity Group. You guys, if you or a loved one is suffering, please call us today. The number is right here on the screen. We are here for you 24/7. Now, let's get into the episode.
Christina, welcome to the
Yeah.
Hopeaholics
Yes.
Podcast.
Nice to have you.
Hi. Thank
Welcome,
you.
welcome.
That's how we always get started, huh?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
It's the same every time.
I think so. We kind of wait for Chad to
Say something.
lead us in.
Yeah.
Everything okay with you?
Yeah.
I mean, you had a little rough start to getting before we got going here.
No, I'm fine. I'm good. I like the pressure.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was just checking.
It
Yeah.
feels good.
Your head, everything good?
Everything
in your
feels
head?
good.
You feel
I feel a pulse, and I'm good.
okay? Just checking.
No glasses on this one?
No.
Oh.
You're a little blurry, but that's fine.
Okay.
I just want
That's our
to
odd
preface this podcast with Shane's a tad bit off today, but that's
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
and also remind the audience that he's from Canada.
Another
So,
Mm-hmm.
what
I feel off every day.
And I'm mentally fatigued.
this
suffer
might
from
this
mental health
might
issues.
work out perfectly.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
this could be
I think it's going to be
One of the-
it's going to be a whippersnapper of a podcast. See?
Christina. Where are you from?
Yeah.
Where'd you
from-
grow up?
I'm from Rancho Penasquitos.
What?
What? Whoa.
Rancho Skinny Penis, or whatever they used to call it. I don't know. Down by Poway. I'm 35, born in 89. So issues first began with food and body image. I was an athlete. I played a lot of sports. And I think the volleyball spandex and the cheer skirts and everything just, in the early 2000s was not like great for me to grow up with. And so I had like body dysmorphia, and I found myself at like 12, 13 feeling very desperate to be thin.
Yeah,
I want to be skinny.
Totally get it.
But I couldn't, and I was like a size 11, and my friends were like a size 2, so I wasn't necessarily big, but I saw like, I don't know what, but both my parents are still together. My dad coached all of our softball teams and volleyball teams, and so yeah, really, really great childhood. Don't have any childhood trauma at all, at least that I'm aware of or can remember.
Siblings?
I have one older sister. She's 2.5 years older than me. Her name's Marcella. Hi, Marcella. She is, I guess, a normie. She partied quite a bit in high school and college, but was able to get a degree and now works for Lusardi Construction as like some high position. So, yeah, black sheep of my family, definitely.
Nice.
Yeah.
I just want to throw in there that I coach my daughter every now and then, not a lot, but it seems like that could be a lot of pressure on the kid. You know what I mean? When your dad's the coach, you're pushing everyone. You're saying, "Hey, let's go." You know what I mean? How was that? Him as a coach all the time. Was it nice?
My dad was like usually like the assistant coach, and he was the goofball. My dad was always the one goofing off with everyone. So not so much from him, but I think in general, I felt a pressure to be the best at everything. I was a pitcher. I'm very smart. I went to Westview High School, but I barely graduated high school. First time I went to rehab was at 16 years old. I was smoking meth by the time I was 16. And again, that comes from that desperation to be skinny. I was what can I do? And I could not starve myself. That was the one thing I couldn't do because I'm a food addict first and foremost. And so my friend basically gave me a handful of pills and was like, my parents make me take these and they make me not hungry. And they turned out to be Adderall. And I was just like, these are fucking magical, you know, like I'm doing my homework 3 times in different colored ink and I'm cleaning the house but that turned into smoking meth and it got bad pretty quick. So my parents put me into rehab, and I would say 12-step was like ingrained in my head at 16, you know, and it was a 30-day program. So went back for senior year, played cheer for my last year. I actually got kicked off the volleyball team because of my addiction, but cheer I was able to do my senior year. So that was cool. But I moved to Cal State Long Beach for a couple years, and by the time I'm 19, I'm shooting up meth and heroin. Like I was very mentally ill too, looking back, and I wasn't taking any medications for it or anything. So very psychotic episodes, like, you know, punching walls, like threatening to hurt myself, threatening to hurt you. I just like couldn't control my emotions, and I would drink and use and snort and shoot like I was a poly substance user, and I would get myself so whacked out for days and have psychotic episodes, you know. I've been in the psych ward more times than I can count. But I ended up in Hawaii in 2020. My parents found this rehab out there. It was 3 years long. And it's advertised as, it's called Habilitat. And it looks really nice, like on the website. And it is really nice. But what my parents didn't know is that it was intense behavior modification. Like wake up at 6, bed needs to be made, corners tucked. They also didn't know that it was like really involved with Hawaii's judicial system. Like that's where they're going to send all the felons that can't do the 30-day program or the 60-day. Like they'll give you a bunch of chances, and then it's like you're going to Habilitat and you're going to graduate, or you're going to do your full 10-year term or whatever it was. So it was like 80% locals, 20% mainlanders, and I was very, you know, even though I was already shooting dope, I was very naive when I got out there. And the whole, I'm sure you guys know the concept of like behavior modification, how they yell at you, and the men, they would like shave your head in front of the family. Like the women, they're not going to shave your head, so they make you wear like a stocking cap where you have to like tuck up all your hair into it, and it looks like basically a do-rag, and you look like a cone head, and it's super humbling, especially if as a woman you depend on your hair or whatever to get your validation or whatever. So it was very I was there for 3 months, and I ended up bouncing. I was like, fuck this shit is crazy, the way they yell at you, and you're not allowed to talk to the men. But during games, which is something we did like 3 times a week, everybody got a chance to like sit in the middle, and then the men could talk to you, and you could say whatever you wanted to the person, basically like verbally tear them apart. And where these behaviors, like where this type of treatment comes from, is like adolescent institutionalization. Kind of stuff, like sit in the corner and face the wall, and they leave you there for like, you don't even know how many days. Every day it's like, is he going to take me off and pull you up in front of the family? Like, should we take her off the dishpan? No, go back in the fucking corner. Like, I don't know. I can understand it working for some people, maybe those very judicially involved or whatever, but I was just like, this isn't going to work for me. So
I'll ask you a question.
Yeah, totally. Sorry.
What year was that? Do you remember?
That was 2010.
How old were you?
2010?
Oh, yeah, and I was 20, 21. And I do want to add into, before this, in 2009, I went to rehab 4 times. Once or twice to Serenity House, and then twice to another program in Riverside. I graduated, and then I would leave and relapse, graduate and leave and relapse. And so my parents, that's why they picked the Hawaii program, because it was long. And they told me, we're not going to fly you home if you leave. Like, this is your last chance. Yeah, okay, whatever. And sure enough, I end up homeless, living in a homeless shelter, and they would not fly me home. So I was on my own for like the first time in my life. My parents are the type that, you know, I could call and like they would come rescue me, or like, you know what I mean? But once I hit like 20 years old, my mom was like, no, this is not going to work. Like, she needs tough love, like bad. So big wake up call. I end up homeless. I end up with this shitty little car that I start living in. And
is this in Hawaii?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
and I actually try another rehab on the west side of the island, like up towards Waianae, where that's where like, it's really beautiful, but that's where like all the locals are. That's where all the gangs are. That's where most of the drugs are and stuff. And so I got like ripped apart, eaten alive my first year being homeless in my car. Like I cannot tell you, sorry, my voice is shaking. Let me just take a breath.
Yeah. Take your time.
I can't tell you how many times I got jacked, set up, jumped. Like the local girls would like make me think they were my friends, and then like my car would get jacked and the police would have to go get it back from me. And so I was kind of given no choice but to like find the gangster in me, and like, you know what I mean? That was when I really was like, you guys aren't gonna fucking do this shit. And I started defending myself, and the Hawaiian girls just love to fight, and they would usually beat my ass, but hey, at least I would try. So lots of traumatic things happen. I'm living in my car. I'm probably 21 or 22 at this point. Been in Hawaii for like a year. My parents are still not flying me home. So I meet a man that ultimately ends up sex trafficking me.
Oh shit.
And so that's probably like the gnarliest part of my story. But yeah, I mean, he had just gotten out of prison 2 days before that. He was still wearing like his jail wife beater and his jail slippers. And he had been just walking around. He didn't know where he was going to stay. Like he didn't have anywhere to parole to. So he meets me, this insecure, a little overweight, strung out drug addict living in a car with a phone, but no hustle at all. And so he basically was like, I had feelings for him, and he basically used those against me. And he said, if you love me or care about me, you'll do this. And I remember feeling very conflicted and torn, and knowing like that was not what I wanted to do. And I knew like that was not how I was raised. My parents raised me to go to college and get a degree, not to be a hooker on the side of the road. So, but he basically was like, if you're not going to do it, I'm just going to fucking leave your ass where I found you on the street. And he did. And we ended up going our own ways for a little bit. And then I would contact him, and he'd be like, if you want to come back, you have to do it. So him and his friend put me in, first, they put me out on the strip, walking around in heels and a dress in Waikiki, and I literally looked like a fucking idiot. I did not know what I was doing. Like, I knew how to hang out with dudes and, like, get them to smoke me out, but, like, hey, you want to have sex for money? Like, I didn't know what I was doing, and so it was really awkward, and so they put me in the Asian massage parlors, and I would go there at, like, 10 o'clock at night and work all night, be off at, like, 4 in the morning. They put me on Backpage.
What's Backpage?
Backpage is not around anymore, but it's basically like an escort service. It's like Craigslist for escorts. Okay. And but eventually the government like cracked down on it. Now there's new ones. I don't know what they're called now, but I just couldn't. I hated it so much. Like afterwards, I would just roll up in a ball and cry, and I hated it so much. But it was hard to be out there alone. And he did like provide me some type of protection or whatever. I don't know, but the relationship goes on for a year and a half. He ends up becoming physically abusive, and we tried to like get sober for a little bit, but he just kept going back to jail, and I couldn't stay sober. So I don't know, a story I tell a lot in my story just because it is so vivid to me is the day that he told me he was going to he was leaving to go to Vegas with another girl that had a car and money. She was, young and pretty and not strung out on drugs. And he's like, this bitch is actually going to make me some money. All you want to do is shoot the money up. And that's true. That's all I wanted to do was shoot dope. And that's all I did all day long. But I drove over to where he was at, and it's all kind of blurry but vivid, if that makes sense. And I remember trying to run him over with my car. I was like driving up on the sidewalk, like, you're not gonna fucking leave me. Like, and then I remember being halfway up on the curb. I open my door and I jump out and run after him, and I'm crying, begging him, please, like, don't leave me. And I catch up to him and I grab the back of his shirt and I fucking yank it. And then we just start fighting, and he throws me to the ground. And I can still see the buildings above me when he very loudly and audibly goes,
oh my God.
Leave me the fuck alone, you stupid fucking bitch. And then I didn't even wipe the spit from my eyes, like it was in my face, and I just laid there on the floor in the fetal position watching him run off. And I was hoping that he would come back. You know, is he going to come back? Is he going to see what he did to me? You know, and he didn't come back. I watched him run all the way off, like 3-4 blocks, turn the corner. And I fucking just was like, yeah, I don't care if I live or die at this point. But then a guardian angel comes in named Fred. He was a dealer at the time, but he let me move in with him and like kept me well. And he didn't want to see me out selling my body. And I didn't know how to sell my body without him telling me what to do. And so that was in like 2012, 2013. We had a puppy together, Major. That's why my name's Major Christina online, because I have a little dog. I still have him. He's with my parents right now. But anyways, so by the time 2015 comes around, I am very overweight. I don't have any veins left. I'm shooting up in my neck. I'm muscling it in my shoulders, like my legs. I would shoot up in my neck, like my forehead. When you make your angry face, you could see. Yeah, dude, like just crazy shit. And I was living with a group of people, and we were all needle addicts, and we would throw our needles into this big red bin because Hawaii's needle exchange program is freaking dope. Like, they'll bring you needles every week wherever you're at. But anyways, when I would get fucking dope sick, I would literally, because Fred eventually his girlfriend moved back in, and he's like, you can't stay here anymore, but I'll help you. He still helped me, but I would still get dope sick, you know? I had a freaking really, really big habit. So again, this is pretty gross. I'll probably throw a trigger warning on top of this, but I would literally dump the needle bin out and pull out needles that had like just a tiny bit of blood in it. Like, you know, when you can't get your shot and it like clogs up, these needles would be sitting in there for like a week. And so I thought I just squirt them all into a spoon, add a little soda, because soda breaks up that carbonation, or any kind of carbonated drink breaks up that thick blood. And then I cook it and shoot it. Like, I don't know why I thought I could do something like that without it almost killing me. And ultimately, it almost did killing me, because it almost did end up killing me because, you know, mind you, I'm already covered in abscesses. Yeah. Like, I probably have one of my, you could still see the scars, arms, leg, feet. I mean, every body part I've had an abscess on that needs to get drained at the ER, and you have to get antibiotics from. And I talk about this, I know it's gross, but like I was that type of homeless addict that had like swollen cellulitis legs, you know what I mean? So anyways, I go in, forget what happened. I just know that my back started hurting really bad, and after a couple of weeks, it became unbearable. And one night I hit a fever really high, and I ended up in the ER, and it cost them like, not cost, but it took them like an hour to get a vein started. Like, the lab techs tried, they couldn't get it. The nurses tried, they couldn't get it. The doctor had to come in, and like, he was looking in my neck to start just a vein to get blood. So I don't really remember much, but after about 5 hours of being at the ER, they determined that I had osteomyelitis in my spinal cord, endocarditis in my heart, and I was beginning to get brain septic. Like, and also my lungs were infected and full of fluid. My spleen, like everything was just infected with sepsis. So I fell into a coma, and the doctor called my parents and said, your daughter's in the ICU and she's probably not going to make it. So you should probably come out here and like make arrangements. They also said that if I survived, I would probably be in a wheelchair for the rest of my life. So I woke up 5 days later, and my parents were there, and my parents are both disabled. Like, my mom's on a walker. My dad had a brain tumor and like needs a cane because he has really bad balance. And so I remember waking up, and I was like, Mom, and they were like really happy that I woke up. And then it's all kind of a blur. But they ended up, once they knew I was going to be okay, they took my dog and flew back to San Diego. This was in 2016, with the expectation that I was to follow. But after 10 days, because another thing too is the infections that I had were so bad that they required IV antibiotics for 6 to 8 weeks, vancomycin. And I couldn't go to get a PICC. Like a normal person, they would give you a PICC line, and you could go every day to get your dose of antibiotics, but they're not going to give that to me because I'm a fucking IV user, you know? So they told me I had to stay in the hospital for 6 to 8 weeks. So after 10 days, I pulled everything out and left, walked off in my hospital
gosh.
gown. I literally remember walking off in my hospital gown. They made me sign the AMA form, and I went off and got loaded for another couple weeks, and eventually ended up back in the ER with a really high fever again. And it took 4 different ICU trips for me to get better. I never actually stayed for the full 6 to 8 weeks. Honestly, to this day, I have no idea how all the infections cleared out of my body. God, I guess. But I was in bad shape. I mean, bad shape. My spine healed, like kind of deformed. My teeth are all black and rotting in the front at this point. Like, I was a picker, so I had sores on my face. I was really overweight, and I just had bruises all over me from trying to shoot up everywhere. So that was in 2016, and I did another 4 years of using.
Oh my God.
Before I finally was like, oh my God, like I need to stop. So I'm 30 years old, and I have another abscess over here, and I have to go to the ER, and the doctor walks in, and he's like, well, congratulations. I'm like, for what? My abscess? I remember saying that to him. I'm like, for what? My abscess? He's like, well, no, you're pregnant. And I'm like, oh, fuck. Like, okay, I didn't get a period because of the drugs, and I was overweight. I was like 250 at this point. So
wow.
I didn't know that I was pregnant. I really didn't know. And so by the time I got to Planned Parenthood, I was already 16 weeks along, which is almost 4 months. And I also was developing congestive heart failure at this point. My legs were swollen like tree trunks. And I was just shot to shit, like just so terribly strung out. And so I made the decision to get an abortion. And that was, to this day, I've had a lot of painful things happen to me, but to this day, I've never felt something as painful as that. Like, I didn't know it was going to feel like that. They told me it was going to feel like period cramps. So I couldn't finish the procedure. I was screaming for them to stop. And they tried to turn it on and do it again. I kept saying, I can't do it. So they made me... Sorry, this is probably another trigger warning, but I went home that night with like a diaper on, and I had to go back the next day for like to be put under anesthesia so they could finish the procedure. And so that was when like I really started considering coming back to San Diego, because I knew that if I didn't stop using, I was going to die. And if it wasn't going to be from an overdose, it was going to be from an infection or congestive heart failure, some other substance-related sickness. And so my parents booked me a flight. This is in 2020. I'm recovering from the abortion.
And you were still in Hawaii at this time?
Yep.
Okay.
At this point, I'm living back with Fred. Fred and I were friends for like almost 9 years. He met me while I was still with the pimp or whatever. And so he, like looking back now, one of the places we stayed at was like a pay by the week, and it was like a mama-san kind of place. Like you pay the rent to the mama-san or whatever. And she would always say, he pay your rent for you. He man of God. He man of God. And so I had him saved in my phone as man of God. So anyways, I was living with him, and he was like an older man, Fred. And what I appreciated about our friendship is how much he helped me and never once asked me for a sexual favor or made me feel like I had to give him a sexual favor in exchange for housing or whatever. So anyways, 2020, I make it back home to San Diego. I am overweight. I am ready to stop, but I am horribly, horribly depressed and just, anyways, so I get on methadone, and this is in COVID. So like I was doing outpatient classes on Zoom, and I think that was my mistake, is not going into residential treatment right when I came home from Hawaii. That didn't happen until after I was home for like 6 months. So I was clean for about 6 months or on methadone. And one night I decided I could drink. So I took 4 shots of my parents' alcohol, and literally I drank the alcohol at like 9:30 p.m. And by midnight I had heroin, meth, fentanyl, and needles. And I was in a motel room ready to, you know what I mean? Like it just happened like that.
Yep.
So a month, I lost everything. I don't know if you guys have seen on my social media, but I often post like me really bad in addiction and me now, and I look really terrible. But that was me this last time before I got clean. It was in 2021. We're at like March, April 2021 at this point. my parents kick me out. I lose my job. And so I ended up in a psych ward where I was at for like 5 days. And then I went to a crisis house for 3 weeks. My parents made it very clear to me that I was not coming home. That was like my one and only chance. All right, so where are we? 2021. So I go back to Serenity House. I put myself there. I don't know if you guys have heard of Serenity House. It's in Escondido. It's a huge rehab for, like, I think we have like 60 women or whatever. I work there now, so that's cool. I was going to get to that at the end, but it's okay. So I put myself back in Serenity House, and that was where I had my first ever spiritual awakening. I was standing up on the second level, just looking out over the parking lot, because it's like an old motel that they turned into a rehab. And I realized that I'm 31. I moved to Hawaii when I was 20. The place I was before I left for Hawaii was Serenity House too. I went to Serenity House and then Hawaii. And now I'm back from Hawaii, except we're over a decade later. I'm back in the same fucking rehab that I was at when I left at 20 years old. Except now I have Hep C, I have scars. My parents helped me get my teeth fixed because they were really messed up. Freaking scars all over my body, like, and I just realized, and I went halfway around the Pacific Ocean and back for a whole fucking decade, and I'm back in the same place. And so I do remember feeling like I felt it in my body, and I felt my higher power saying, you have to do this. Like, this is it. 16 years of active use, 14 years of needle use. So did rehab, and that was in 2021. I graduated there in September of 2021. I was like, I had a couple relapses while I was in there. So I had about 30 days when I graduated. And then I found out that Fred died. And that was really hard for me because he, to this day, nobody has ever like taken care of me like he did. You know what I mean? He paid my rent for me in places and like did his best to always make sure I was never out on the street. He was this little man, like up to my chin, Hawaiian Portuguese man, like super pidgin English, like we call him Uncle Fred, but anyways, or Unks. So anyways, I found out Fred died. That was really hard. And I was like, I don't know if I'm going to do this. I don't know if I want to do this. And I started going to outpatient. I was waiting for sober living. And that's where I met Bradley. I met Bradley 4 days after Fred died. And I do feel like that was kind of like a God shot too. But yeah, so I have been clean since I left there. My clean date is August 19th of 2021. I did get back on methadone and I started my taper. I was at 170 milligrams at one point, like right when I came home when I was still like using with it. And so when I got back to Serenity House, I was at like 150. And so I just started a slow taper and every week I would go down. No matter what, every week I would go down. And so but I still did 12-step and I still took tokens and I encountered a lot of judgment in the 12-step space. Like, oh, if you're on methadone, you can't take tokens. Like, I guess I can understand some people's opinion, but man, this shit is saving my life. Like, I was literally shooting dope in my fucking neck and shit. Like,
in your forehead.
In my forehead.
Fuck.
And my toes
Yeah.
and my fingers. And so that, I don't think I could have gotten clean without methadone. But anyways, so I still took tokens. I got a sponsor. I worked steps. I started doing EMDR therapy. I took a good look at what happened to me in my early 20s, and I realized that I didn't get pimped out. Like, that wasn't like, oh, you're a bottom bitch, you're so down and loyal. Like, no, bitch. He fucking sex trafficked you, human trafficked you. And so just changing the verbiage of it has empowered me. And I share about it now on every episode, every podcast I'm on. I'm writing a book about my experience because, yeah, I am a survivor of sex trafficking, and that's okay. Like, it feels really weird to say that out loud. And but anyway, so I've done a lot of work on healing. And this year I completed my taper. In February of this year, I hit 14. I did a slow from 170 at one point all the way to 14. It was hard, and I was like ready to just do it. And so I switched over to Subutex and was on it for a few weeks before I ultimately got the Sublocade shot. And I got 4 of those, and The last one was in July, like July 2nd.
What's that?
Sublocade is like Suboxone in a shot form. And so you get like, it goes in your stomach and it's like a little pill in there. Like you could feel it when they put it in there, but it dissolves really, really slowly and it breaks you from having to take something every day. That, you know, it just gives you like a steady stream of, and so anyways, but it dissolves really slowly out of your system. And so that is the route that I took so I could get off of MAT all the way without having withdrawals.
Sure.
You know, because no judgment. If people need to be on it for life, like by all means, I don't judge anybody's recovery, whether it's, you know, Cali sober, refuge recovery, celebrate recovery, smart recovery. I mean, take what works and leave what doesn't. You know, when I was in early recovery, I felt like I had to compare myself to everybody. Oh, but my recovery doesn't look like theirs. Oh, I'm not really sober because I'm on mat. Like, that was just such negative talk for me. Like, I needed to change my self-talk. And so I found a women's meeting that, like, is still my home group to this day. It's actually a meeting that I started going to before I, you know, had the relapse or whatever. But so some of these women I've known for like 4 years now, and they nursed me back to health. They love me till I could love myself. I shared about my taper, you know, because I wanted a space where I could share about my taper. Like, hey, I went down 3 milligrams this week. I feel like shit. And I felt like I couldn't talk about it at other meetings like that. So, but that women's meeting, it's in someone's house. It's like really intimate. I found my 12-step meeting where I could also take tokens. They gave me a commitment. You know, I was a secretary. Like, they validated my recovery, and I needed that. I got a sponsor that really drilled into my head that nobody's opinion matters other than mine. She says mine like hers. Your sponsor and your higher power are the only opinions you should care about. If they want to say you're not fucking really sober because you're on mat, fuck them. They can think what they want. I know my recovery, and I know that I have not touched meth, heroin, fentanyl, Xanax, alcohol, any of that shit since August 19th of 2021. In fact, the last time I used any of those was while I was at Serenity House. Sorry, I'm looking at her a lot because I'm like a woman person. So anyways, yeah, they told me if I wanted to work there, I'd have to wait till 2 years after. And as soon as I hit that 2-year mark, man, I applied. And I applied for the peer support position, and they ultimately ended up offering me the SUD counseling position. So that's what I'm going to school for. I also do school part-time. I have a 4.0. Wow. I'm on the Honor Society at Palomar College. This year is my last year, and then I'll be able to take the test, and I will become certified. I'm already working the position that I'm going to school for, which is cool. You can do that in Cali. But I'll just get a raise eventually.
Oh, right.
So, like, you know, I don't know. My higher power is absolutely real in my life. I talk to him all day, every day. There's been a few times in my recovery where I was like, man, I'm fucking miserable and depressed. And I just hung on, and eventually it got better. But I do a lot of things like, you know, I take like psychiatric meds now, like antidepressant. I take Wellbutrin, I take Boost Bar for anxiety. And that is the combo that has helped me, you know, that's not a like narcotic. So, but anyway, so yeah, the last Sublocade shot I got was in July, and I haven't had another one since. So we're going on, I don't know, like 4 or 5 months now, and I'm done. Like, I feel like it's all the way out of my system, and I didn't have to go through cold turkey freaking withdrawals. Because, yeah, you do still have them coming off of Suboxone and methadone. That's the reality. But this Sublocade invention or whatever is, I mean, God, that's the way. If you're trying to get off MAT, no pressure, but that's the way to go. And I would talk to your doctor about it. But so yeah, I've done really intensive work with my therapist. She does like EMDR stuff with me, and I've just processed a lot of things that were so many horribly traumatic things happened to me, like getting jumped by dudes, fucking getting raped, getting sex trafficked, you know, and I like brushed it off like it was nothing in my addiction. I probably didn't even cry about it. Like, oh yeah, I was pimped out, like whatever. But once I got like clean, I was like, damn, like even though it was 10 years later, it was much needed. And I had many nights where I, you know, cried my eyes out, and I needed that. And so I'm a counselor now. I carry a caseload of, you know, about 15 women on average. I run groups. I am writing a book. I'm working directly with Unstoppable Publishing, which is a publishing company through an organization called Love Never Fails. Love Never Fails is a human trafficking organization that helps rescue women and get them out. And so they're helping us publish our book. It's for women, and all of our stories are going to be in like a compilation. So we're all going to have our own book inside of one book. The book, like I have my own title, but the book is going to be called Unsilenced. And I mean, that was such a God opportunity for me. Like I saw an old friend of mine, and she was like, yeah, I just came back from a 3-year run. And she was a working girl in her early 20s, and she had 7 years sober. And she always said she would never go back to, that. And she did. And so it was really, she's like, yeah, but I'm writing a story, and I'm going to have my story in the book. And I was like, oh, you should ask them if they want to hear my story. And sure enough, they did. And they were like, yep, bring her on board. And so in like February or something, we signed the contract, and they want it wrapped up by the end of the year. So I have a book coming out. I'm on podcasts. I mean, I don't know. I feel like I've been talking a lot.
No, it's
amazing.
It's exactly.
I'm at the end of my seat here, bro. I love her.
Yeah.
Seriously, what a story! What a beginning to end. I was on the edge of my seat. What a survivor! Mm-hmm. Wow, good for you.
Thank you.
Yeah, good for you.
Good for you, man.
How are your parents now?
My parents are still together. They're getting old.
And when they see you today,
they're happy. Their health has improved. But they both are getting older, and my dad is declining. And so I'm just handling that the best that I can. But whatever it is that I'm struggling through with, mental health or whatever, I just give it up to my higher power. Like God, God is so good. And yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be here with all the weight loss. Like I've just had a lot of physical changes happen. Like I never used to look in the mirror and like seeing myself as beautiful, being overweight, having the fucked up teeth and the sores. And so, that's part of like my self-care now is I do skincare, and I like makeup, and I take care of get my hair highlighted, like stuff that makes me feel good, Yeah. So, healing, balls to the wall healing. I heard a woman say that at one of the women's meetings. I'm in my balls to the wall healing phase, and I was like, you know what? I like that. I'm gonna take that and have that be the theme of my life. Whatever it is, breath work, women's retreats.
Totally.
I have another one I'm going on this weekend in Havasu. I'm going to be staying in a huge ass Airbnb with 15 women, most of them who I've only met one other time at the retreat, but we had a blast. Like doing shit that you are normally scared to do or that might like intimidate you. And social anxiety is real, I mean, God, the whole drive up here, I was sick to my stomach with anxiety, but really it's something I should be excited about. I mean, this is my dream. Janine from the Chasing Heroin podcast is really the first person that I saw doing it. And I was like, I want to do that. I want to do the recovery thing. And I met her when I was like 30 days sober, and I had asked her to be my temporary sponsor, and she told me about her podcast. And I went home and listened to, this is when I was still living with my parents. Me and my mom listened to an episode. And I showed her a picture. I was like, look at her. My mom was like, oh, she's so pretty. I was like, yeah, she used to be a homeless junkie that shared needles with homeless people and shit. My mom couldn't believe it. But that was like back in 2020, 2021. I met her right when I came home from Hawaii. And I remember thinking, that would be so fucking cool if I could be on her show. And I was like, yeah, right. That's never going to happen. But shut up. Like, that's how my self-talk was. But I think it was last December already that I was on her show. So
promises.
Yeah, totally. Like God is so good and real. And I just live in being grateful for a roof and hot water and food. I have held a sign. I have slept outside. I've slept in tents. I've, sold my body for drugs. I've used other people's needles with old blood in them. Like that shit's gnarly. But that right there is just a perfect of how, when we're in our addiction, our body is like on autopilot. We're just doing all these things that we normally wouldn't do. But
God has a plan for your life.
Yeah.
Obviously. You being septic as you were, truly, when those doctors called, your percent chance of surviving that, honestly, doctors wouldn't tell people this, but they called your parents to come make arrangements for your funeral. Because the possibility of you surviving that is like 10%.
Totally.
You know, just being septic alone, immediately that's a 50-50 chance of surviving. And, you know, you're a miracle. And I liked what you talked about, the fact that you talked about how you got sober. Because, you know, one of the things that I'm a Narcotics Anonymous guy. And the reason why I don't really attend Narcotics Anonymous that much anymore is because of my personal experience that I went through when I relapsed and I couldn't get it back together. The judgment that was talked about towards me from a community that is supposed to be non-judging and all loving, right? So, like, it doesn't matter how we get sober. It doesn't matter what our recovery looks like to anybody else except for exactly what you said, our sponsor and our God. You know, and that is straight from the book of Alcoholics Anonymous. You know, we don't judge and we don't shoot our wounded around here.
Right.
You know, and that is the message that I speak to whatever community I'm talking to. Because, like, you know what? So what if Matt isn't what worked for you? Who are you to judge another person's recovery? You know, I didn't do it that way, but that's okay. Like, it's literally okay.
But it's just,
and like the answer is like, the one thing I don't like is I don't like insurance companies pushing Matt on people in treatment centers that have been using fentanyl for 6 months, and this is their first time in treatment, and they want to put them on Suboxone maintenance, right? Nah, let's try abstinence first. How about that, insurance company? But you're the real deal. Like, you're the real deal. You're a stage 4 fucking dope fiend.
Yeah, after the episode of having septic and then being in a coma for 5 days and then continuing to use.
I got friends. And it seems like all you people from San Diego are, you know, you guys, like, I got buddies just like you.
I think that I ended up in Hawaii for a reason, because if I was here, I would have been going back and forth across the border, probably doing dumb shit. Like, one of my connects,
probably doing a life in prison.
Yeah.
Or dead.
No,
dead.
For real. And I've been arrested probably 7 or 8 times, but only for like misdemeanor, stealing shit from Walmart, or I got arrested for prostitution a couple times. But even in Hawaii, that's just a misdemeanor. So I'm lucky that I never caught a charge. I also sold drugs for my last like 3 years of Hawaii. Fred was not selling drugs anymore because his girlfriend had died from it, and he was just like grossed out by the whole thing. And Fred did 25 years. He was like an OG. Oh, wow. He read the Bible and did his time, and he knew it front to back. He would get high and stay up for days and like talk babbles. Like, he'd be saying Bible verses. And I remember being like, Fred, shut up already, man. Like, you know, we're all trying to go to sleep already, and he's just over there mumbling Bible. But looking back, like, that's God. That was God, like, giving me my little prayers.
Little bits.
And the last video, and really the only video I ever took with him, because, you know, when we're in our addiction, we don't use our phones to take pictures. He's praying over me, and I'm towering over him. He's up to here. I got my arm around him. I'm like, I'm leaving for Cali today. He's like, and he just says a prayer. God, please look over her and help her get and stay clean this time. And so, you know, that, and God, like, introducing me to Janine, and then 3 years later I get asked on her podcast. Like, it's just, God knows, like, but you just gotta trust, and then he gives you little nuggets. I call them little nuggets. And
Totally.
And that's what I wanted to share. At where I work, we are harm reduction. We're also, like, Medi-Cal freaking calls the shots, because we're not private pay. We are like, the women are straight from jail. Or CWS, we're a perinatal program, so sometimes our women actually have their kids there with them. which I love, but we're also harm reduction, and we don't kick people out for relapsing. So we often have women that are using, and I find drugs often. I have to deal with women high often. But again, I feel like I feel they all tell me all the time how much they love me, and some of them call me like Miss Christina, and I'm like, that just sounds weird, like as a form of endearment, you know. I never thought I would be respected enough to be called Miss Christina by clients that are older than me, you know. But they love me, and I relate to them, and they all know what I've been through, and I teach them not to be ashamed of themselves, and to forgive themselves, and to just be compassionate towards ourselves. Like, my self-talk in early recovery was like, shut up, they don't want to hear that, or like, you look terrible in that, you shouldn't do that, don't even try and do that because it's not going to happen. And as soon as someone actually called me out on it, one of the women at the meeting, she's like, why are you so mean to yourself, you know, the way you talk to yourself? I'm like, I don't know, I guess it's just instinctive. She's like, you need to change your thought process and talk to yourself how you would a loved one, like one of your best friends, a homegirl that you care about deeply. And so I did. I wake up every day. All right, sister, let's get up. Let's do this. You know, I know you're anxious right now, but we're going to breathe through it. And I talk to myself like that. And I feel like I wasn't able to do that before. You know, that's how I'm able to stay clean, is because I talk myself through it. I play the tape forward. All right, yeah, I do feel kind of overweight lately and no energy. Smoking meth, or a shot of meth even, that'd be better. Sounds kind of good. Like, I do get those thoughts, but then I'm like, all right, let's just stop for a minute. What if you do get high right now? Where are you going to be 24 hours from now?
Yep.
I know for a fact my fucking tweaked out ass would probably still be in the mirror, picking my face, plucking my eyebrows off, like fucking doing some weird tweaker shit.
Just got to get one more. I just got to get one more. It's gonna be perfect when I get that next hair. They are going to be perfect. I used to do that shit with my beard. I fucking got scars on my face from pulling out hairs to get my beard.
Right.
Fucking wig.
Yeah.
Dude.
Like weird shit. And yeah, so I don't know. I just try and forgive myself and be kind to myself and compassionate towards myself. And
there's power in the tongue. It's important. It's really, really important. And half the things that we tell ourselves, we would never in a million years utter them to anybody that we love or that is close to us at all, ever.
yeah.
And it's amazing to me that we have this way of talking so bad to ourselves, which is craziness if you really think about it. But I did want to say, like, kind of piggybacking on also what you said about, like, when it comes to like sobriety, it's just like diet and food. There's not one way for every single individual, and every individual that walks into like a NA or an AA, you have to realize, like, you're dealing with a lot of humans. Humans are the problem. So like the judgment that shouldn't be there, because it literally says it in the big book about not being judgmental. It's ironic that you have a lot of judgmental people in there trying to tell you, like, this is the way, this is not the way. It ain't the
bedrock of mental health.
Yeah, exactly. But you have to figure out what sobriety is best for yourself. And like you said, you touched on it perfectly. It only matters between yourself, your higher power, and your sponsor. And you knowing that you're doing the deal. You're doing what is right for you to become the best that you can possibly be. And that's all that matters.
Yeah.
And that, I think, is a huge win. And obviously you're living in exactly why God left you here, because you shouldn't be sitting in front of me right now.
Right.
From all the things that you've gone through, and from even just the hospital stint alone.
Yeah.
Minus all the of the other things that you had to kind of walk through to get to this spot. So it is like you're stepping into exactly what you're supposed to be doing. Yeah. And that's sharing the message to the individuals that think that they're alone, or that they can't come back from wherever depths of hell that they think they're in, that they're not. Hold on. This shit is real. If you can grab it, go get it. Because you clearly did, and you really shouldn't be here. And that's what's like amazing about sobriety and the program and the gifts that actually come, because one of yours, by going on Janine's podcast, happened for you. It's incredible.
Yeah.
We all know Janine.
She was on ours.
Yeah.
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 She referred me to Shane.
Oh, nice.
Awesome.
I gotta
Yeah,
tell you
shout out to
something.
Janine.
I gotta tell you something funny. In Chasing Heroin, the Chasing Heroin podcast, our boy Chuck Zamzow, she literally was kind of making fun of his last name on the podcast too.
Did you listen to it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was great. I put it in our little Recover Out Loud. Give Chuck a little nod. His story is quite crazy
Yeah.
too.
I wanted to kind of maybe just let you know that how we feel sometimes. So like Natalie, Shane, and I all have severe anxiety before we do public speaking, and literally like Natalie and I, before we go do we're literally like a mess, like a mess. Our anxiety will be like through the roof. We'll be stressing. I sweat sometimes, like when I get really bad anxiety and fear. Because like public speaking has been always this most, I don't know why. And I don't know why.
I do. It's because just for general, it's like the number one most feared thing amongst all humans is public speaking. Because you have to think, you're standing up in front of peers, and what is that cause? Judgmental. Am I liked? Are they looking at my hair, my outfit? Like, what do I look like? It's so self.
I'm always worried that my nipples are showing. Are you, Shane? I'm just kidding. I just say stupid shit to, but it's funny because like I'm speaking on Wednesday night, and I literally just did a public speaking, a big one, huge, 500 people, Shane and I crushed it, and I'm like, why are you even having a smidgen of anxiety to speak on Wednesday night?
Right.
Because it's a whole different crowd of people. But I also have like little fears, like, because it's our Halloween party and everything. And I'm like, what if nobody shows up?
Oh, I always think that.
You do?
Always.
I've had this
every,
weird...
Every little thing, every event, I always tell Jonathan, what if no one comes?
What does he say to you?
I mean, he just tells me
to shut up.
Shut the fuck. Yeah, stop it.
I've like literally sent this flyer out to like everybody. You guys are welcome to come.
Yeah,
yeah,
totally.
for sure.
We will.
Wednesday we have it starts at 6 p.m.
A haunted little maze.
Haunted maze.
Food.
A little food party, costume contests. And then we're going to all speak. These two will say a few words, and then I'm going to tell my story. See?
But I think I channel it where it's because we care. And it's because we want to speak however God wants us and use us as a vessel. So instead of being in so much fear as I used to be to where I am now, is like channeling those nervousness into I'm excited.
Yeah, call
I'm
it
grateful.
excited. That's what I meant to get to was that. Because like did you know that your body doesn't know the difference? It is the exact same stuff that happens inside of your body when it's anxiety or fear and excitement. The only difference is your thoughts. You can literally trick yourself. So when next time you're driving up to a podcast, start telling yourself,
I'm so excited.
I'm so excited, and I just can't hide it. I'm about to lose control, and I think I like it.
Whoa. But I also think too is before, like, especially since we've been starting like the kind of sharing what we're doing here and our own personal stories and stuff, we do make sure, whether it's by ourselves or as a group or together, is to hit a quick prayer real quick, because a lot of times, and I think maybe for alcoholics and addicts, we're very self-consumed. And
me.
Exactly.
It's the ism.
Totally, for sure. So it's like being able to have that like little kumbaya moment with our higher power to be like, you take control. You take the ball. You
said exactly what I say when you sat down and you said, I just asked God to use me as a vessel. That's all I say, man. My last thing before I go grab any microphone, except for here. I do this like all the time. So this is like my home.
Yeah.
I don't pray before the podcast because I've already prayed this morning.
Yeah.
And it's always like about the individual yourself, like the guest.
Yeah.
So not so much where you have to like, yeah, of course, hopefully we can add like some good little nuggets, but really it's you.
It's about the guest. You're the spotlight.
Yeah.
We're like, and you know what? I just like every time before, it's like, God, just use me as your vessel.
Yeah.
You speak through me. And I like that you said I don't plan anything, because I don't plan anything. I might have 2 or 3 sentences in my head that, like, if I fall off, if I start to completely blow it in the beginning, it's, you know, you should have a go-to,
right.
you know,
like, put me back on course.
Yeah.
Put me back on course.
Put me back on course.
Yeah.
So I don't completely freak out.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that I've ever, I have stood up before and totally blown it, but I didn't pray. God has never let me down when I've said a prayer in front before I went on.
Mm-hmm.
Never.
He is like he does some weird shit, and weird in a good way. That's just so much of a coincidence.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, all right, God, I hear you.
Oh, for sure.
I hear you. You know.
Uh-huh.
And I also try and encourage my women to, my clients, oh God, see, I just had a brain fart, to be able to manage all the feelings that come with being sober, because it's a lot. So just to kind of be in acceptance and just expect that you're going to have sad days, you're going to have depressed days. Okay, so what are we going to do when you have those days? It all works out in a reason. Like me working at Serenity House now, and
It's wild.
It's
wild.
I'm so grateful. Like I've been there for like a year now, and they love me. I'm a strong counselor, and I've learned so much about myself. That job has taught me patience, to be kind and compassionate. You know, we have women that sometimes relapse over and over and over, and we will continue to give them chances. And so. And they always say, I'm sorry, Miss Christina, are you mad at me? And I'm like, no, I'm not mad at you. And I know we're not supposed to do this as counselors, but I'm like, come here, give me a hug, and it's okay. And women have cried to me and told me some of the most personal things that they said they've never told anybody in their life. And thank you so much for just listening. And that just fills my cup up with joy. And I know this is what I'm meant to do, and but I have to stay sober to help these women, because if I relapse, everyone will know. Like it's really obvious.
Well, and all of the things and all the beautiful things that are happening, not only in your life but in others, because it is a trickle effect. Because now you're giving back to those women at the Serenity House. It's that all goes away,
right,
in a blink.
Yeah.
Because that's how fast it can happen when our disease creeps up. Because it can, and that's why it's a daily reprieve. That's what I wanted to ask you. So the woman that's sitting in front of me is not 250. So what have you done to manage that aspect of your life as well? Because I always think it's like a threefold, mind, body, and soul. So for that part of your kind of story.
Well, what I have learned about myself and is that I actually have a diagnosis of binge eating disorder and bulimia. I don't throw up anymore, but I did in my late teens. And so honestly, I still struggle with it a lot. I still make decisions that aren't good, or like binge on cinnamon rolls or something. But honestly, what really like made me lose the weight was going to the gym and lifting weights and getting on semaglutide, which I've been on now for like a year. And I'm honestly trying to get off it now, because I feel like I don't really need it anymore. But it's like I tried and tried and tried. My first 2 years of sobriety, I was pretty big. I was like 200, 220. So
I'm gonna be one of those people that goes with the. I'm a fan of semaglutide.
Yeah,
for people that need it.
Yeah, I mean, I was morbidly
Trizipatide
obese
too. Yeah, no,
I'm a fan for anything that, as long as individuals aren't like using it in a harmful or obsessive type of manner. What is the wrong? Well, I don't understand the negative.
Nothing. The only negative shit that I really hear people talk about is the fact that you lose a lot of muscle at the same time. But if you're already obese and it's okay to lose some of the muscle. But what I like about the fact is that you're going to the gym.
Yeah.
Is it abused at the gym? Yes. There are people that are, rocking, 6% body fat who are, using it to be like that. It's not necessary to do it. It just depends on how people use it. But like, I'm a fan. My mom has lost over 70 pounds on semaglutide. My sister, I believe, 50 plus. My other sister, 90.
My girlfriend is,
My daughter,
I don't know. I think
my daughter looks unfucking believable. She's 23 years old. She was had a little chubs on her, and it's gone. To the point where Shane didn't even recognize her and almost thought a perverted thought about my daughter in his head. Oh, I shouldn't say that shit.
that is wild.
I just fucking.
Shame on you, Shane.
I can't even respond. There's nothing I
okay.
could say to take that away.
23. I mean,
Yeah. Out of your
She's
league.
looking good.
She really does look
She
amazing.
looks great. Yeah. Good for her. Yeah.
What is
it's
your
important, man?
Do you have a morning routine or something that you do daily and stick with, or is it different for you every day?
it's different every day, and I don't get to the gym as much as I would like. I get there like twice a week, but I also work on the second floor, and it's a huge facility. It's like 60 women, and I'm going up and down the stairs all day. I think that's another reason why, is because I've been at Serenity House for the last year, and I'll walk like 4 to 5.
You got your Apple Watch on?
Yeah, I don't use it for anything though.
Oh,
I
You can get your steps in.
Yeah, I was just gonna say. If
You can get your steps
clock
on there.
10,000
I just
steps a
check
day,
it on my
good.
phone.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I try and take them 2 at a time. But I just eat smaller portions. I don't deprive myself. Like, I'm not going to eat salad and chicken all day. I'm sorry. I'm just not. Like, I love food. We love to go out to eat, you know, and
Some people eat salad and chicken all day though, but they throw some really gnarly ranch on there, and it
Totally.
defeats the whole
That's so
purpose,
true.
anyways.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you can
True.
eat anything you want in small portions.
right. So that's what I try and do, because I love pizza, I love cinnamon rolls, I love burritos. And I'm not going to deprive myself, but I'll just get a burrito and have like a third of it, and then bring the rest for, like, you know what I mean? So
I'll tell you, we all got some problems with food around
Oh,
here
big
too.
time.
The other night, I don't know what my wife and daughter were gone.
You mentioned that before you were going to do it. You planned it. It was a plan, because during the day, or if it was the day before, you said, hey,
So no, it was the day
That day off.
Remember,
Yeah.
I missed one of my meals here.
Yeah.
I even snuck into my office to order Ricardo's because I didn't
Oh, yeah,
want
I saw
everybody
it.
to
I
know.
responded,
I didn't want everybody to know that I was about to pig the fuck out.
which is hilarious because you posted it on social media.
I know. I just didn't want them to hear me do it. And then I posted on social media. So I did. I ate a whole bunch of tacos, Mexican food.
I was going to say,
Bombed out.
Ricardo's, what kind of Mexican food?
really good.
Oh, it's really
it was-
good.
The tacos
Oh,
are
yeah,
off the charts
they're
over there.
amazing.
What kind of
Closed
tacos?
today.
Chicken. I got chicken and beef.
I like fish tacos.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Where are you from?
Shane and I can't respond to that.
No, I have a fish taco.
I also
I
like
love fish tacos too, bro. I love them all.
It is.
or fish burrito with cheese.
Oh, the shrimp taco with cheese. That's what I go for.
I've never had a
Oh,
shrimp
really? Shrimp taco is really good, but the fish taco with
How's your relationship with your sister?
I wasn't done with my ice
We're-
cream.
Neither was
my
I.
fucking
We're
cookies.
working on things.
Yeah.
There's, I don't talk to her often. When I do see her, we have a great time, but I think I really destroyed that relationship, and she was bitter and resentful towards
Sure.
me for years because I'm the baby and I'm getting all the attention, and mom and dad are, and so I think she was really resentful. And when I first came home from Hawaii, she took me to like a swap meet, and we had like a lunch or whatever. And then on the way back, she said something along the lines of, when you were in that coma, like it really, really scared us. And honestly, at that point, I had been asking God to just take you already, to relieve us and you of the suffering.
Yeah.
My sister said that my sister thought those same thoughts.
And I said, oh, and I said, like, I understand, but really it felt like I got punched in the gut.
Yeah.
And, and yeah, I mean, I was basically like on and off homeless IV drug addict for many years. And my sister and I eventually, at one point, weren't even talking at all. So, but we're working on it,
Yeah.
and she has shared some of my stuff to her social media, like for her to share one of my before and after videos, because I'll do like the 0 days
Sure.
clean, and then for her to share that to her story and say like, look at my baby sister, I'm proud of her.
amazing.
That's a step. I'll take that.
Oh, for sure.
Because
All
before
day.
she was like embarrassed of me.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely. And I think too, for people that are listening that are siblings or spouses or significant others that have to kind of walk that walk with a person suffering with the disease, it's super hard on them, you know, where it takes compassion on each side, because I know for the individual that is now sober immediately wants to have those relationships just like bounce and mend.
Yeah.
But forgetting, especially when you're in a state of whether it's alcohol or drugs, you do some crazy ass shit to the people that you love and you forget about it. So they're like having to do a little bit of work
I want to share this
for themselves.
because I just thought about it and it's a total god shot. Okay, so before I got on Janine's show, so it was like the end of last year, I got a message on Instagram, and it's the pimp, the trafficker.
Oh shit.
I'm in NA now. I'm doing my steps. I have amends I want to make to you. And I responded with, no thanks, I'm good. Like, he wanted to like video chat me. I was like, oh my God, no. And then like a week or two goes by and I do the podcast with Janine, and I end up talking a lot about like the trafficking thing. And that was really the first like public platform that I shared it on. And so something came over me. I guess it was my higher power. I don't know. I was like, send this to him. And I sent it to him and I was like, if you want to make amends, you can listen to this if you want. I was expecting him to like not even read the message. He listened to the whole thing, and I know he listened to the whole thing because it was a 2 hour and 5 minute episode. And it was about 2 hours and 10 minutes later that he messaged me this freaking paragraph of just sorry, and how he has a daughter now, and couldn't believe it if that were to happen to her. And he just said, you know, from the bottom of his heart, he hopes that I can forgive him. And so, not that like I needed his forgiveness or gave a shit at that point, like, but I do feel like that was a God shot as fuck. And it was able for me to like close that chapter.
Exactly.
Because I had
Yes.
resentment, like I hated him.
Yeah.
And that's why I was shooting up so much and shooting old blood and doing shit that risked my life, because I felt so deeply ashamed for becoming a prostitute, for a fucking felon, you know, douchebag felon. Not that being a felon is a bad thing, but he was just a criminal, and that was his mentality. And so to use me to his demand. But anyway, so yeah, that was pretty powerful for me.
Oh, for sure. And for
I
your
cried.
recovery, you know, it's like like you said, a nice kind of closure to something that was a big burden in you, like whether it's subconscious or to current, where you're able to talk about it with a lot more relief, as opposed to if that didn't happen.
Yeah.
Like if you weren't able to close that.
The resentments only hurt us, you know? The resentments only hurt us, so good for you.
Good for you.
Isn't that crazy though?
Not really.
I mean-
God is no. That shit is like
Those are God instances. That's what I like to call those.
And it was heartfelt. And I just said, you know, I appreciate that. Thank you. You know, he was 21 and I was like 22 when we met. So we were kids.
for sure.
And I said, I forgive you. And I don't hold hate in my heart for you. And, you know, now I'm going to go on to help other women that have had the same thing happen to them. And like public speaking, like you guys do, I would love to get up in front of freaking schools or whatever it is and just share my story. And I would love to be there to help like nurse the women back to life, like the ones that are straight rescued. And I know people had it worse than me. Like I know like people think human trafficking, they think of like kidnapping in a white van, but ultimately what it mostly is men taking advantage of a woman's romantic feelings for them, because women are not going to do that unless they have like romantic feelings for them. I mean, for the most part. So anyways, it's just crazy. It's crazy, but I'm not going to carry any more shame. I just want to save lives and touch other women and men. Men are trafficked too.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Good for you.
I think I talked about all the stuff I wanted to. But.
Yeah, congratulations on everything.
Everything. She's
Yeah.
amazing, man. Christina. Wow, man.
We're gonna have
Blew
to have
me
you,
away.
We're gonna have to have you come back and do a Recover Out Loud. We do a Tuesday night
Yeah.
Zoom meeting every week.
Yeah, if any of your girls want to attend, if they, we do all are welcome. You know, it's like a lot of times you'll hear people, our guests that are sharing our 12-step. Some of the people on the Zoom are 12-step, but there's a bunch of people on the Zoom that are not 12-step.
It's for everybody.
And it's
That's
for
why
everybody.
awesome.
It's for family members. It's for addicts. It's for, you know, people that are still using. We try not to, you know, let them ramble on because we do have a 3-minute rule, because sometimes people come on and they want to bring the mess.
Which
is fine.
We're all about message and solution.
It is fine if somebody, you know, rants for a 3-minute mess. That's okay, because the rest of us have to. I want to remember where I came from. The only times I've ever relapsed
is when you forgot.
Is when I forgot where I came from. When I forgot what it felt like that day when the bail agent kicked my door in and said, "You're going with me." You know, I don't want to forget that. It was bittersweet because, like, I knew I was done, and I was able to surrender, but I was so miserable inside on that day. Like, I was in the meth-induced psychosis like you've never seen. I was deep undercover ops for the CIA. Meth addicts understand that one.
Yeah, they're after me. Who is
Yeah,
they?
exactly.
Them.
Them. They, them.
But
Gotta be cautious with that one too, huh, nowadays.
Oh, right. Oh.
But they were after me, bro.
oh my God.
But
Anyways, you're gonna have to come back definitely
Okay.
for that, or you and your girls can tune in at any time.
So it's Tuesdays on Zoom.
Yeah,
At
6
what time?
p.m.
6
6 p.m.
and it's an hour long. Sometimes we go over just because we never want to let a hand that's raised not share.
Right.
So sometimes it kind of trickles over. But
It's gone
yeah.
as long as 7:30.
No, dude, it's gone long almost till 8.
I work, I'm like swing shift, so I work noon to 8:30. You asked about my schedule.
Yeah.
The only thing I do consistently every night without fail is my skincare routine.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
And I love it.
Yeah.
I go to bed glowing like a glazed
There you
donut
go.
every night because I don't want to age. And,
Damn, I should do that. I should go. Do you go to bed?
go pure.
My neighbor. You want to know what my
Are you
neighbor's
spying on your neighbor?
my neighbor's skincare routine?
Whoa,
my
bro.
goodness.
She came over and
Too
told
much.
us.
Oh, she did?
Yeah,
Really?
yeah.
Okay.
She's like 70.
Yeah.
Looks amazing. Every night before she goes to bed, she puts on olive oil from Italy. Not fucking kidding you. I swear
Oh
to
my God, I feel like that would just break me out.
I know, me too. But
Olive oil.
congratulations
Olive
on
oil.
where you're
I'm
at,
not doing it.
your sobriety,
Yeah.
your journey,
Huge.
you sharing your story. It's
Huge.
incredible.
Wow,
Thank
you
you,
gotta save
Natalie.
lives.
I appreciate you guys for
Yeah.
having me.
Crazy.
For sure.
We'll definitely come support your
yes.
events and send me the info for the Zoom shit and I'll
Yeah.
post it.
All right,
Awesome.
cool.
Cool.
Thank you.
Nice.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much.
All right, bye everyone.